Yeah, I haven't watched like regular TV in quite some time.
Like only when I'm watching the local news. And I have to say, I kind of miss commercials. Like,
Yeah,
commercials are so you can get up and do things. And then
yeah,
come.
it's a natural break.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, this is because sometimes I pause things and I never go back because then I forget. If you leave the TV for a while, it puts a screensaver on. And then I'm like, oh, I was watching this. Well, I cleaned up. So it has its place.
I think so. Yeah. And the kids are more entertained by the commercials and if I have them watch Hulu, something on Hulu, they actually enjoy the commercials. I guess that's not good from a parenting perspective because then they ask me for the shit that's in the commercials.
Yes.
And then commercials are designed for them. So, okay. Well, today we're reviewing Fleishman is in Trouble.
As are we.
Welcome to Tangentially Speaking, the podcast where we have in-depth and entertaining conversations with a lot of tangents that always, eventually connect two seemingly unrelated topics.
I am Nikki.
And I'm Nita Sharice.
Today we're reviewing Fleishman is in Trouble, the television series adapted from Taffy Brodesser Akner's novel of the same name. The story follows Toby Fleishman as he descends into the trappings of middle age and navigates career and parenthood fresh after divorce from his outrageously successful wife, Rachel. The first season of the limited series is available on FX on Hulu. What did you think? Fleishman is in Trouble. I would have never watched this show had it not been for your recommendation because Jesse Eisenberg and Claire Danes are not my favorites. Claire Danes in Homeland, I just wanted to take her and shake her. Like, she was just manic as fuck. And like, I understand that she was dealing with mental health issues. There's nothing to laugh about. But her going into one of her manic episodes was just like especially annoying. Like, I just always wanted to shake the shit out of her. Like, please stop, sit down, breathe, do something. And then Jesse Eisenberg, he just plays the same annoying, pitiful, just itchy, nervous person in every movie. And I'm kind of tired of seeing it. So I had no interest in watching this show. And then it's divorce. Again, everyone knows that I am divorced. so I'm just like, another reminder.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, whatever. But it was actually a cathartic watch, even though, and I got a chance to really enjoy the storyline while I also hate watching these particular actors. So, I identify with it. I identify.
Also look like you've just come from war. We are still independent.
I appreciate the conversation that needed to be had on gender roles. And I think it was a very interesting way to present it because, with Toby Fleischman's character, I started watching and I identified he's back out in the dating world. He's on dating apps. Dating apps are interesting. They're interesting places. And I mean, I don't know. He seems, I know I date with a different intent, but he seemed like he was intent on replacing his wife, while dating and replacing whatever ego boost he got from having a woman consistently in his life. I identified with him from a female perspective, but I'm also like, dude, you're a hater. You're hating on her because she's she's more successful than you. And at any point, like as the show progresses, and I also read the book, as the show progresses, you tend to be on his side. He's the protagonist. So Rachel feels horrible. She feels like a neglectful mother. But then, the first time I watched it, I felt that way. But then the second time, and after having read the book, I could see where this guy was just, he never once stepped outside of him, his ego. He never once stepped outside of and considered anything from anyone else's perspective. Not his colleagues, not his patients, actually, not his friends, and definitely not his wife. I think the only people he was compassionate with were his children.
And I think the residents as well, or whatever they were, students or residents, like, and maybe I'm seeing it from a teacher's point of view, but when he interacted with them, especially when we first meet him in the first episode, that is where he seems like confident and in control and knowledgeable. You see that he really does love what he does. Like, he's in love with the liver. He goes on this like soliloquy about like how the liver is forgiving. It understands that you need a couple of tries at life. Like it gives you chances. It's self-healing. And the way that he's instructing them is really, really good. Like, the patient that he gets, that we're going to kind of like sort of get to know like over a couple of episodes, of the woman who it turns out like she had mercury poisoning, but when they first come in, they think that she's an alcoholic. And so he has 3 students, right? Two guys and 1 woman. And the guys are like, he said she was clumsy, so it's alcohol or whatever. And the woman is kind of being like a little more thoughtful, but he's also guiding them like, okay, he said clumsier than usual, which I thought was a very asshole comment by her husband. Like, what? Like, oh, she was clumsier than usual. And I'm like, did he just insult her? She might be dead right now. Anyway, like I picked up on that like immediately, like he's an ass. Then it was kind of confirmed for me like later, but
what you thought I thought he, well, I mean, my kid is clumsy as hell. And I'm just like,
it's something about the way he said it. But see, you're not supposed to relate to your spouse the way you would to your kids. You're in charge of your kids.
Yeah.
Like I could see saying that about like, oh, my dog is clumsy as hell. Oh, this little girl is clumsy as hell, because she probably gets it from me. But this is his wife. And he's like, I don't know, she's clumsier than usual. When I heard that, I'm like, something's wrong.
Well, yeah, we do. Your instincts were right, because we do find out later that,
Yeah, I was like, of course he was, because that was a shot at her, and she was unconscious. I feel like that would have brought me out of it. Like, motherfucker, I was dead and came back to be like, yeah, which I would. I'm that petty. But like watching him with his students, that is the only time I had respect for him, because he knew what he was talking about and he was instructing them to be compassionate. And then he said something that I didn't even know, which I hope it's true. But he was like, hey, insurance only pays for the first 15 minutes, but you have to take it as a loss and be thorough and find out. So I think that was a personal connection for me, like dealing with medical professionals and quotes and like listening to that. And it just kind of hammered home what I've realized in the last couple of years, that you are only, when you are dealing with doctors or medical professionals, you are only as safe as they are knowledgeable and hardworking.
Yeah.
And that shit is terrifying but it's also sobering. And it reminds me not to just say, and to be like I always am and ask questions. And I feel like I'm being too much, because I'm looking at him instructing these doctors, thankfully, you need to take the time as a loss and investigate, because they find out that she was given Zoloft. And then he, in front of his students, calls the prescribing doctor and is like, you gave her Zoloft? And that doctor's just like, yeah, she said she was sad. And he's like, did you check her?
That doctor had the same attitude as the one student of African-American descent that is like the only like, well, no, I think there was 2 Black people in the movie or the series. Maybe there
was
was
the other black person.
He was
the
having
babysitter.
No, he was having sex with one of them. Mona wasn't black, was she? I thought she was.
No, she just wasn't white. I don't know what she was, but I don't know. When she got irritated with him about her son, she looked black as hell.
Yeah, she did.
Saying something, and she was like.
No, I was on the side. But yeah, that student, he was one of the few black characters or black presences in the series. So that's another reason why I was just like, okay. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah.
But he had a funny line when he was like, because he was very careless with the way he was referring to her. And I appreciated that he was like, this is a person. It's not a cadaver. Like, this is a person, because he said something. It made me laugh. It was fucked up, but it made me laugh. Because he was like, I don't know. He called her a drunk. And then they were like, he said drunk. And then they said, no, an alcoholic. And what Toby was trying to get them to see was, he knew what it already was, but he wanted to lead them to the answer. And so then he said, alcoholic American? I was like, you done it. That was funny.
So that student assumed that she was an alcoholic, and then lumped her in the same category as did her regular physician by saying, she's one of those alcoholic housewives, blah 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 blah.
She's a woman in her 40s.
Yes.
They're all on meds. I remember that, because I was just like, wait, am I in a thing? Hold on, is there lore about us?
So that assumption that women in their 40s, are just living off of the fat of the land and getting drunk and being irresponsible and not dealing with any type of issues at all because they're being taken care of by a husband or whoever, like
that, or depressed and angry too. Well, like, there's the living on fat of the land, but there's also the attitude of like we're angry, because even their friend Seth, when they're in the diner, makes a comment about how he sets his parameters on the dating thing so that he doesn't get women of a certain age. And then he was like, somebody said something about, so what, you don't think that they are fill in the blank? And then he says, no, I just think that the women in their 20s hate us less. So see, it always baffled me that men would complain about that, like, women in their 40s. And when 9 times out of 10, you are the reason why the women are this way. Not all the time, but men like you and women like you, if that's your situation, are the reason why we're bitter and angry, along with all of the other things that are foisted up on us, while you all get to just always be free, no matter what. Even when you're actually not, you are perceived as free. There's reasons for that. And then they get to say, I'm not feeling this anymore, and go and get someone who was recently prepubescent, and it's okay. But if a woman of the same age does the same thing, she's molesting somebody. It's all of these things.
Yeah, she's a cougar.
Yeah,
she's bitter. Like, out in the dating world, when I tell someone I'm not interested in getting married again, it's just such a shock. Like, why wouldn't you want to be in a committed relationship? Like, why do I need to be in a committed relationship? I have to
explain that to you. Do you? Well, no, but you're supposed to want to. It's such fucked up socialization to take one group and say, Prince and meant to be and happily ever after, and not talk to them about, about the real shit that you need to know, which is like body autonomy, knowing about your body. Do you know that, you don't pee out of your vagina? Like, just, we don't know anything about ourselves, but this person's going to come along and be sweet to you, and you're going to have kids and everything's going to be fine. And then the other group is just like, get all the ass you can, be a man. What is supposed to happen? And what is supposed to happen is the woman is supposed to just stay there while just getting repeatedly knocked upside her head, whether it is physically or just emotionally. The man can go out and get as many people as he wants and then apologize. And no one looks at the woman crazy if she stays. Maybe nowadays, maybe a little bit more, but for the most part, it's just expected. And when you come across a woman who acts like this, there's something wrong with her. And like, she needs to be like captured and like domesticated Immediately, we see that all throughout pop culture. Best Man is still on my brain because I remember when Lance in the original one says something really derogatory about Jordan to the effect of Jordan has a dick or something like that. It was really like, this is 1999.
Yeah.
Like,
He accused her of being a lesbian because she wasn't obsessed with the usual social construct of, okay, you go to college to meet your husband so you can, have lots of babies and be supported by him, but still hold an intelligent conversation with him and not get bored and still be a sex kitten in the bedroom, but be a very saintly mom. You're
supposed to wear all these hats and personas and still have energy, and they don't have to do anything. So when somebody comes along when a man comes along that does step out of that and maybe stays at home with his kids from time to time, he gets treated like someone who has saved the world.
Yes.
I get so aggravated with people who are like, look at that man, he's with his daughter. It's like, that's it? That's the end of the compliment? Like, she's 5. I hope he is with her. Oh, look, he's spending time. He's supposed to. Or when somebody says, or when men or somebody will say about the man that he's babysitting his kids. No, he is not. He's parenting.
Yeah. Also,
it's so frustrating. It's just so frustrating.
The expectation here, and I appreciate, at first I was just like, why is this writer, Brodus or Ackner, telling this story from a male perspective when it was so much about the women? And I think she has the character at one point saying, do I have to write it, as a man in order to get it across? But it would be interesting. I would love to get an actual man's take, and wonder how quickly he identified with Toby and took pity on Toby, even after he potentially found out that Rachel was not completely to blame. But I think that there were carrots dropped all through, which I didn't pick up until the second viewing and reading the book. When she first started to talk about her family life, when they gone out on that date, or no, they met at the party, and she was very vulnerable in that moment, even though she had just met him, which kind of she was probably hungry for the kind of attention that he gave to her, and he did give to her a lot. Yeah, but he kind of just, it's like he took it in, but he kind of just set it aside, because the true goal was, the true prize for him was the way that she made him feel. It really wasn't about truly being with her at all.
And the fact that he pulled her, because, whether she is your aesthetic or not, she was attractive in that scene. Like, she's got the the bright red lips, and she's looking at him, and she looked interested, and she looked really pretty. And he has said over and over, or at least at the beginning, no one checks for him, which, I mean, I'm not surprised. So he was just so well, look at what I pulled. And I thought it was weird too that she's telling them this, and it's truly horrible, what she was telling him. This girl has had no love. It just seemed like he would have been like, wow, I'm so sorry to hear that. And he was just kind of taking it in as if she was saying what her major was or something. It was weird.
Or the fact that, because I was just like, your mom was where? She said, well, I didn't really remember my mom. And I'm like, where was she? It didn't come out that she died until several episodes later.
And it's probably because he didn't ask any follow-up.
Yeah, even though in the book it presents that information a little bit sooner. So as I was reading, it was always in the back of my head, okay, this lady is dealing with this. This lady had this upbringing, and now she's in a new environment without her family. They did not show the wedding. So what actually happened at the wedding? It just, there were so many parallels.
They said that they looked really, really happy though.
Yeah, they were happy. Like I think originally, when they first got together, they did have happiness, and there was like this true intention to love each other and be together and support each other and all of that. It was great, but then shit got real, didn't it?
That's when the test comes in. How are you going to treat that other person when it happens? And it's not even a situation where if you don't get it right the first time, the marriage is over. It's never like that. It is constantly like neglecting or not seeing or like just not taking the time to care, like never coming to the realization like, oh my God, I was taking it for granted. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have like, there has to be that period where you are super aware of everything that you're doing, and you have to be until it becomes muscle memory because you haven't been doing it. And they never had that. And when that shit happened to her with the doctor, which was beyond triggering, and he didn't respond by doing something.
Even
he still turned it towards
a medical professional, because we're not talking about a layperson who's coming into the hospital and has a baby. He knows proper bedside etiquette, and he knows patients' rights as well. So why he wouldn't advocate for his own wife, like, and this shit happens all the time. I'm posting a link in the show notes about forced cesareans, unnecessary cesareans, because she was being induced. That baby didn't have to come then and there. Her water hadn't even broke. And
he just did that. And you could tell she acted that so well. I felt it. It was just like, that was hard to watch. And I saw a couple of things at play there. I felt kind of sorry for him because again, when you're watching the show, it's like, she is such a bitch. When she yells out, she embarrassed him. She said something like, don't you have any pull here? And I remember being like, okay, she's in pain. Like, man, that's fucked up. But now that I have this full picture of him, he didn't handle it like he should have, because he is not respected at work, not by the people on his level. His students respect him because they don't know any better yet. Just like when your parents are superheroes and then you realize that they're just people. He is not respected by the other people who are his colleagues, because you and I have both had regular jobs, and what everybody knows, whether you're a restaurant or you're a doctor or a teacher, lawyer, when your colleague is coming in with their wife or mom or whatever, you treat them extra because we work together. Also, you know what it is that I'm supposed to be fucking doing. So I'm like, maybe I'm shit or half-ass any other time, but your child is now in my classroom and we're both teachers.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best.
Put on. Yeah.
That is a natural, that's respect. Whether it's kind of fucked up that like, so you don't always do this, that's another thing. It's respect for me to put on for you. That doctor didn't even try. This motherfucker is a doctor.
Yeah.
He knows that this is the doctor, and he treated his wife like, fuck you, I'm going to treat you like a civilian that doesn't know any better or won't be able to do anything, because what he did was wrong, but it was done. Nothing can be done about it. And he, in that moment, is supposed to be your irrational, crazy husband. And you're supposed to come near to burning that motherfucker down. That is what a husband is there for. But he's a punk. And he's respected at work. And she pretty much called that out. You said through our texting, he's jealous. All of that, just like, yes, that's exactly what it is.
One caveat, though. One caveat. He's not respected, but in this way, I did have a little bit of compassion for him, just a teensy-weensy bit. Because again, he did actually do like a lot of women do when their husbands are reaching towards whatever career aspirations they're going, and women are playing the dutiful, supportive wives to that. Those women, or also like Lewis on Reasonable Doubt, he's coming up a lot in these episodes. He is making sacrifices, or he may be putting his work aside in order to be more accommodating to her. And that's what Toby did. He did adjust his schedule at the hospital, in order to be there for the kids, because he didn't want them being raised by a nanny. So he did experience some of that shit that women always do. And again, that's why I'm saying I'm willing to extend a little bit of grace, because how was he able to build the sort of rapport when he was being constantly, pulled by his kids and his family duties? I get that. But at the same time, there should not be as huge of a need for doulas in the delivery room as there are. And obviously there is a need for that type of advocacy because husbands aren't fucking doing it. And why they're not, I don't understand. But
because you're crazy and you're irrational, even though you have upwards of a 10-pound disruption tearing through this little opening, and don't fucking tell me that it can stretch. Fucking know that. That doesn't mean it stretches comfortably or that it snaps right back like, all right, team, let's get ready to go. It's a fucking hellhole for weeks afterwards. Yeah, that motherfucker stretches, but at what cost? You're the cost. And so he was treating her like they treat you when you're upset about something. It's always just a little bit too much. And you could be the best husband in the world. All men do that shit where when you say something, there's a little bit of like, they don't trust you. And they don't even know that they're doing it. Speaking from experience, knowing that the person that I'm speaking of knows that I'm intelligent, tells me this all the time. But I can say something and you can see that there's always a little bit of, she might be like, there's always like, they think that we're overreacting about something. Then it takes somebody else coming along and saying the same thing. And then it's true. And it's so in that moment when she is upset, even though he went, hey, think about the way he thinks of her and talks about her. He knows that was wrong, but calm down, and I knew that he didn't like her when he watched her tell the story over and over again, which, you stupid motherfucker, that means that she needs help. She kept telling it. And then he was like, every time she told it, like it was with such contempt where he would say that she like added details that weren't there. Well, if she was getting help, maybe she wouldn't do that. Maybe that's equivalent to like a fucking smoke signal to your ass. It fucked her up. And I really do believe that maybe they would have still gotten divorced, but that split something in her.
She wasn't okay after that.
She was not okay. And she couldn't bond with that baby. Yeah.
Later on, when she says, I was winning, but in that moment, I was a failure. Because like, if you go through your entire life as a woman, being socialized to believe that your worth is based on your ability to breed, you have these body parts in order to create new life. You are the portal.
Snag somebody first and then breed.
Yes. But if that's truly what womanhood is all about, then to get to that moment, that truly life-changing moment, and for it to not go as you plan, even though you are strong, even though you are capable, she is outrageously successful. Her success was spurred out of this failure.
Because she had to go be good at something. She wanted that feeling.
Yes, but also doing all of that with, it's the scariest thing to bring life into your world and your mom is not there at your side. Because it's like, just to have that comfort and guidance, because you're here, that she went through the same thing that you did, and she didn't have that. She didn't have a grandmother either. And then why Toby's fucking parents weren't there? Why weren't they there?
But his mom was cool too, because he was a fat kid and she seemed like she thought that maybe he was fat and blind, because it seems like she told him all the time, to where this motherfucker was eating the strangest things. Like, he had an issue too. His problem is he didn't think he had any problems. You know why? Well, I'm a father that takes care of the kids. Bully for you, motherfucker. You're supposed to. They came out of your Balzac. You should have some kind of connection with them. He felt like he was the better parent. He was so self-righteous. I fucking hate him. But like, what I appreciate about this show is that it is the best representation of that phrase, two things can be true. It's perfect, because I hated him, but then it was like, he really does take care of his kid. Like, he wasn't just saying it. Like, there are some men that'll have Toby's attitude after just like remembering to go to the right school and pick up their child. And it's fucking ridiculous that we accept that kind of shit as a society. That dads don't know. I was a teacher. I was in schools for years. I heard that shit so often, where you put something in a folder, it's especially if the parents aren't together, it would be like, shit, okay, they're going to be at the dad's house. Okay, let me staple this shit to this child's eyeball. like, come here, baby. The contortion, like the way we had to twist things to make sure you get it, because the person who's going to suffer if you don't see this is your child. And I don't have an extra $10.50 for like 10 different children in my class, because this shit needs to be sent because, and it was just accepted like, well, he's going by the dad's house. I'm sorry. That's not okay. Unless the dad is a known invalid and blind, that is not okay. Like, it's just, the mother is just expected. There was a man who showed up in the school office and was at the wrong fucking school for his child. And was like, wait, what school? I'm sorry. You don't even know that? Well, you know, she don't tell me things because you probably don't seem interested, and she's probably tired of telling you. And it's everything is on you. And then people wonder why by your 40s, you're just like, because when you get to this age, you don't care anymore how you come off. You are no longer trying to say things in a way that, and so everybody's like, well, what's wrong with you? Oh my God, like when women get to their 40s, and the people saying that shit are the people that had a hand in making you a fucking lunatic. But I don't know. I'm just guessing at all of this.
Have you ever come across an ad for a meal kit delivery service and thought, yeah, that sounds good and all, but I don't want to do shit? That's where Stockpot comes in. With its tantalizing selection of items, Stockpot allows you to mix and match entrees, sides, and desserts to your heart's content. And while all ingredients have been carefully measured and packaged, that ain't none of your never mind, because Stockpot does it all. Here's how it works. Step 1. Place your order at our secure website, where we're always sure to plan your meals with all your dietary, allergy, religious, and political considerations. Remember freedom fries? Step 2. Receive your Stockpot package delivery. Step 3. Open the Stockpot box in your kitchen and then leave immediately, and do not return to your kitchen or dining room for at least 30 minutes. Step 4. Return to your dining room and enjoy. Still on the fence? Let's listen to what just a few of our satisfied customers have to say. I took out half my braids, and when I came back in the kitchen, Stockpot was done. My wife and I argued violently the entire time, and then enjoyed a fabulous dinner. I spent 30 minutes in my prayer and devotional room, and when I came out, Stockpot had prepared the most wonderful peach cobbler. Now you tell me we don't serve an awesome God. There you have it. Stockpot is doing the damn thing. Stockpot, you ain't gotta do shit.
He's supportive of Rachel's aspirations. He tells her to go for it. He feels like he is this angel on earth for accommodating and taking a back seat. But then he actually resents her success, and then doesn't understand how, while she's doing this very hard work and being successful at it, some things have to give. Some things have to give. And then he's insulting her parenting. You know, there was an exchange that they had. She describes it, but then, you know, also reading it in the book is just, I really liked reading this book in companion with the series. I think that's the best way to do it. You know, I think the series was well done, but I think the book just enhances the understanding of the series.
More details. Like, I mean, well, it should. It is a fucking book. So yeah, like the show would have been like 18 seasons if, you know, if they didn't like cut things out. But that's probably the only instance of where the book and the product like work well together, like where, or the book and the TV show
Yeah.
like worked very well. They did a great job. And I know it's because the same person had their hand in it. Some people didn't just like take the book and then like mess
Yeah,
it up.
I think she was able to translate it very well from book to screen.
Yeah.
But so he's resenting her success, but also enjoying it. Like, and then also judging it. We're not supposed to be this wealthy. There's a limit, but you know, how hot was his fucking apartment and how comfortable was theirs? You know, even the just all of the benefits, being able to take
this point. Like,
dude, you're benefiting off of it. How many soup kitchens have you gone and volunteered with? You know, volunteered at with your kids. You feel so guilty about them. Like the first thing you did, the first thing you did was put them in summer camp, an expensive ass summer camp or whatever. You like, no, don't act like you weren't living off of the fat of the land, but you're suddenly understanding how she can't be providing above and beyond, you know, what the comforts that you're used to for the benefit of your whole fucking family. She comes home and says, hey, he first starts in about what happened at his job, how he's being disrespected or overlooked or whatever. And she's just like, I want to hear all about it. She doesn't say, no, I don't want to fucking hear all about it. She says, I want to hear all about it. Let me say something to the kids and send off a couple of emails. And then he starts in, everything's always about you. It's always about you. And like, what? The first thing she said was, hey, I want to hear about it. Let me handle the children. And then let me.
He didn't hear that. He didn't hear that because that isn't the script.
And see, you know, like as a wife who's been in his situation, the thing is, like, I sat there and listened to his day, whatever, listen attentively. And then when it was time to come and tell what my day was, he would leave or fall asleep. So this shit, I was like, girl, I was just watching the TV, and Rachel, I did fall asleep a couple of times, but when I woke up, I'd be like, girl, Rachel,
oh, girl. She said something to him. Let me see. Oh, that's another episode. Oh, okay. Oh, how many episodes did I say?
See, Rachel, part of the reason why she had that disruption in her life is that she wasn't sleeping. I let the sleep take me.
Okay. Survive however you need to to do what you got to do. Self-care. Yeah, that's it. I can't even say anymore. It was just, it was spot on. Like, it was like, okay, I am very bothered by these people pretending right now. Like, this is hitting a nerve. These are actors. These people are not married. Like, those kids are fine. Like, it's just, he didn't hear it. He only heard things that supported what he believed. Yeah. And so the email thing, there's another thing that came up about emails. And I believe it's when you get to her side of it and they're showing them in the car. I don't know where they were coming from, but it had been like it wasn't a good night. And so they were either going somewhere or coming back. I don't know. But he was annoyed that she pulled out her phone and she was sending an email. And the voiceover, I'm pretty sure it's from her side, but it's basically like, Toby wants to do all of these things. You know, he wants to take walks home, you know, and granted, they used to walk. I get it. But he wants to walk. He wants to do all of these extra things that take time. And but then he gets mad when I'm sending the email. And what he doesn't realize, Jesus Christ, this is like speaking, doesn't realize is if we're going to do all those things, this email needs to be fucking sent right now so that I can do all of these things. She did not have a job where she's only expected to be on. It was her thing. And I identify with that so much because it's like, you're mad at me that I'm working right now, but I have to do this. Like, it was obvious she was trying to do it because they were going somewhere so that she wouldn't be doing it at the dinner table. All right. It has to be done somewhere. It is not 1932 when, the only way you can be at work is to be at work. Right. And he also has a kind of job where they could have been at dinner and something happened with the patient. He would have to leave. She would be a crazy bitch to be like, you don't care about me. It's like, he did not give her the same respect because even though he was enjoying the fruits of her labor, he still thought that what he was doing was more important. And you could argue maybe, but just like you need to go to the hospital and get taken care of, she's also championed someone who is literally performing in off Broadway and changed their lives because she was really good at spotting talent. So don't minimize what it is that, was she work obsessed? Yes. But if you had taken time to understand where she came from and maybe try to say, hey, I'm here for you. Like when she's about to spin out, like you do in marriage, okay, when you understand where the person's coming from, because you care enough to understand it, you can stave off some of that. To me, she threw herself into her work because that's where she wasn't fucking up, or where she did not feel like she was fucking up. Yeah. And I also appreciate it. And I don't know if this was said or if it was just acted really well. The fact that he was the primary caretaker, I don't care how progressive of a woman you are, this society is society. And you always kind of deep down feel like you're supposed to be doing that. Yeah. So you're living your dream or you're working hard to achieve whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, and somebody else has stepped in and you're glad, but then you feel guilty about it. Yeah. And so you can be insecure sometimes when you have to interact with your children in the way that is more maternal, because when there is a person who usually does it, there's a default, there's a way that's already been set. And so you can kind of feel like, oh, well, how do you all usually do this? Because I'm not usually here at bedtime. Or and you feel out of sorts. At her fucking job or her career, where she started it, where people have jobs because of her, she didn't have that feeling. Where would you want to spend the most time? And the way she showed a love for her children, and it wasn't always she didn't finesse it well sometimes, was making sure that they wouldn't have to worry about anything, that they had the right connections. It's fucked up, but it is the way the world is. And anybody who says that they wouldn't take advantage of that if they had the connections is fucking lying. Oh. Or needs to be one of those people that just lives out in the desert with one toothbrush and half a sock or some shit like that. If any of us had the chance to connect our kids to that access, we would do it. And that's how she took care of her kids.
I wouldn't even say that she was absent and she wouldn't know how to put them to bed or anything like that. I think it was all in her head that she felt like she was failing them.
That's what I mean.
She wasn't. She was up on everything that they were doing as well, except for those 2 weeks where she had a mental breakdown, and goddamn it, she deserved it. The only place where I will fault her was that no one is a mind reader. She was not doing her part to communicate exactly what she was experiencing. Maybe she didn't have as much as a chance as she had, or she needed to, because Toby was he had his head way up his own ass. But just like when she went to dinner the first time at his family's house, and the mother says, oh, oh, honey, I'm so sorry for you. My mother just died a couple of years ago and I feel like an orphan. She starts crying, and then immediately the subject is changed. The dad just changes the subject. And she had to sit in that feeling. She sat in it by herself. And I think the narrative says she was used to saying she was okay, but she went in the bathroom and she cried. And so he had to come see her. Is she okay? She wasn't okay. And she hadn't been okay for a long time. But she does a lot of women do, no, I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm busy. I'm going to keep going. I am not this person. I don't have time to be this person. You have to make time to be vulnerable.
But she's never been able to be vulnerable. Never. Yeah. Most of us did not have that kind of upbringing, and we know we have people, but we do do that thing like but she, from what we've been told, has never experienced being able to tell anybody anything. So that doesn't surprise me. And also, as they progress in their marriage, they got to where they weren't seeing or hearing each other, that she probably did that thing where it's like, no, because if I tell him this and it's going to go like this, I don't have time. Like, let me go send some emails.
On top of that, even when she went to therapy, she saw the benefits of talking about her problem and sharing, but she wasn't totally forthcoming with that group either, and ended up sitting in judgment of them and thinking that she was separate and apart from it because she had spent her whole life separate and apart. So she really needed therapy the most. Like, she could not scream and fuck her way out of those feelings, obviously. She couldn't even go to sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, like this entire show was a billboard for therapy for everyone involved. Everyone on the damn show needed therapy, and not one of them actually went to an individual therapist consistently enough to do any sort of work. Not even the person who's telling the story.
Yeah.
What's her name? Lizzie Kaplan.
Well, her real name is Lizzie Kaplan. I don't remember what her name in her.
Libby. I think Libby is her name in the show. So Libby.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because her actual. Okay. So her real name is Lizzie, I believe. Lizzie Kaplan is the actress's name.
Yeah, Lizzie Kaplan played Libby Epstein.
Okay.
So, yeah, she didn't even talk to, so like, y'all can afford to talk to a professional. Like, if it's $200, $300 an hour, set aside that hour and fucking go. You know, but like, you got to talk to somebody. Nobody should be doing any of this stuff on our own. It's too heavy.
It's too hard.
And it's too hard. And then, like, with the gender expectations, it's just not fair. Like, it's just not.
I identified with Rachel even more, like, once I watched it again and had the book, like, just like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But then I also identified with the narrator, with the friend, when it came, not with everything, because she did kind of have a, well, it was me, but I understood just her aversion to the people around her. And like, she was not living the life. In some ways, she was not living the life that she wanted to live. Like, at first I thought, like, oh, she probably didn't want any of this. But then I came to see, no, she does. But I think her thing, and I could be projecting, is just regret. Like, you wake up one day and all of this time has passed and you realize it's not just about like being young, like for all the typical reasons, like, you know, oh, I weighed less and, you know, I have more energy. It's not really the physical. It is just, when you are young, there's so much in front of you. And it just feels like, oh my God, the possibilities. And of course, there's less in front of you, and middle age is fucking maddening because it's probably like equal on both ways. And you're kind of like, what is happening? What am I doing? Like, you know, I have probably, as far as time, just as much in front of me, but choices, probably not. You know, or you do, but you're going to pay for it. It's like, oh, well, I want to chase my dreams and I have 3 kids. Well, you could, but if one of them is pissed at you later on because like you were never around, you're going to have to sit in that. And so you kind of just, it's like, shit, like, why did I do? And that's what I really like. Once I started to focus on her, that was one episode I had to stop. Like, really, it's like I had to stop it. And then when I watched another one, it actually helped me. And I was like, oh, I'm like, okay, TV is never, I enjoy TV a lot, but it's never like, oh, I'm doing this because I saw this. That hasn't happened since I was a child and like wanted a toy that I saw on TV. So I appreciated it for that. I don't think that I'm as much of a sad sack as her. Or maybe what I hated about her was that she showed it. Like, I don't like when people, it's like, stop putting all your shit everywhere and just keep it in. That is not healthy. But I hate when people are like putting their stuff on other people. And it's like, I didn't ask for this. Like, you know, I came to this party. I don't want to hear this shit. And to me, she was kind of like spilling it all over everybody. and kind of getting on my nerves, but I understood when she was just like, who are these moms, these dads, and this party, and these people? You don't want to be that. You are that, but you feel like you didn't get to do enough of the other stuff. And now this is really you, and you fucking hate it, you know? And then she didn't do enough in her career. Like, she was just kind of stagnant. She did have a lot stacked against her, but I think she just kept thinking that she had time. And then the time ran out. I understand that deeply.
Yeah, I think I think we're all foolish to believe that midlife is the end. It's just the middle. It's just the middle. And maybe we're like mourning the vitality of youthfulness, but it doesn't mean that we still can't move towards whatever dream that is. There's going to be a different set of options.
But it's going to be different. And a lot of us don't know that. And so that shit is depressing and very sad. It's like, oh, I can do this, but I can't do it the way that I could have if I hadn't, you know, like I have these children now. And like I owe them an explanation. Like, you would be that deadbeat that was like, yeah, my mom one day just walked out on us to go to Hollywood. Like, it's that kind of thing. Like, okay, you're living your life like it's golden, but this is kind of fucked up. You have a responsibility to these people. You have responsibilities now. So like, you're going to have to kind of like, you're going to have to adapt to your dream. That is not bad. But when it catches you off guard, it's disorienting for a while. And you either come back from that, like it seems like she is, or you destroy your life. So
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. You do have a different set of obstacles, but like whatever stage you are at life, all the obstacles that you meet tend to be new, because otherwise it's not an obstacle. If it may be a challenge, you know, it may be something that you have to overcome, but it's always like a new obstacle at whatever stage you are in your life. So you decide whether or not you're going to move towards it or not. You just have to navigate that terrain, whatever that terrain is. And so, yeah, it could seem daunting because it's like, damn, I don't have the fucking energy I had as a youth. But then also, I'm a lot fucking smarter now. I'm a lot fucking smarter than I ever was as a youth. And I have to make up my mind to see how I'm going to how to tackle this challenge, or I'm going to lay down and die. Like, I have those two options.
Yeah. And sometimes you lay down and die for a while because that's easy to say. I mean, people are different. Some people, like, you can say, well, I'm just going to have to make my mind. But other people, no. I
don't think I know for me,
not easy, but like have fortitude. And for some of us, it takes a little while to find the fortitude, or you worry, I may not have it. I might not see my dream.
Coming to that realization is hard. Like, it was hard for me. I had to like get knocked in the head a couple of times, you know, so to speak. But that's why I admire people like Michelle Obama. I admire that woman because she had this very important interview at an attorney at a law firm, and she brought her kids. She just brought her kids. Now, like, she was at the point, it wasn't middle of life, but it was like she still had kids. So she had that obstacle that a lot of women our age have, where it's like, shit, I want to go after this dream, but I have these kids to worry about. And so I think a lot of us forget we can bring the fucking kids along. And so that's what I'm starting to do. Now, like I said, it's some different planning and dynamics that take place.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, bring those fucking kids along.
So we're doing ratings.
Yeah, let's quickly do ratings.
Okay. What's yours?
About a 4.5. I did not want to give it a 5 stars because I did not want to like Jesse Eisenberg and Claire Danes.
I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, like I said, I identified with it. I wouldn't give it 5 because, like, looking at the parameters of our rating system, I didn't have that feeling of like, I don't want to think about anything else. I just want to look at the show. And then I was thinking about it when I was in it, and like, we're talking about it, I'm seeing like all of the layers, but I enjoyed it while I was in it. And I appreciated I think the book really enhanced it. I don't know if I would feel all the same ways. I have all the same insights if I just watched the show. So,
you know what?
I was on my phone, but it was very minimal. But my phone was like right there. So,
4 is a better rating because I did fall asleep a bunch of times. But it's like listening to the book made watching the show better a lot. So like I would recommend, I guess you could watch the series on its own, but I think if I just did that on its own, I wouldn't want there to be a second season. Because I actually
you would just hate Rachel more.
Yeah. And that Rachel didn't deserve that. So
Wow.
And is that our show?
That is our show.
Thank you for listening to Tangentially Speaking. This podcast is recorded and produced by Nita Charisse and Nikki Ebo. Our theme music is Lush Living by Martin Landstrom. Our artwork was created by Prime Vice Studios. You can learn more about this intellectual property development agency at primevice.com. Find us on your favorite podcast player and YouTube. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And be sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter.